A healthy turnout, but hardly the thousands organisers had said would descend on Lower Manhattan to protest the proposed Islamic Cultural Centre and mosque. Heavy rain may have kept people away, but those who were there were clearly worked up that a mosque could be built just steps from ground zero.
The issue here is not religious freedom. The issue is it's holy, sacred ground. And what's most interesting is how they can't understand that.
I don't want the mosque here.
Why don't you want the mosque?
Why? Because I don't want to go through the Constitution. I know what the Constitution says, but they are spitting in our face, the mosque people.
They're putting a flag on the victory. This is not about peaceful Islamic people. This is about extremist groups that are going to be here.
Some say there's a real irony in the protests against the mosque because this is New York, where businesses and organisations jostle side by side, elbow to elbow, quite normally for years on end. In this same street where the proposed mosque will be, there is an off-track betting shop. And further down the road, a nightclub where girls can regularly be found semi-naked.
Say no to racist fear! Muslims are welcome here!
Round the corner, a smaller group was making a different point, welcoming the proposed Islamic Cultural Centre and mosque to the area around Ground Zero.
The response to this climate of fear, this climate of racism, this climate of Islamophobia and fear-mongering and scapegoating and all this nastiness that has been sort of churned up over the last few months out of nowhere.
And this is not about a mosque. It is about a cultural center where people of all faiths can go, study, talk, talk about their cultural differences.
We're not trying to denigrate the memories of those persons that were lost in that tragic incident 9 years ago. However, we do have the right to pray, to worship, to live.
The mosque issue has been elevated to a national debate by President Obama and politicians campaigning for this November's crucial midterm congressional elections. The wife of the imam trying to build the cultural centre and mosque told a major US TV show on Sunday that she feared it's the start of a backlash against Muslims.
Yes, I think we are deeply concerned because this is like a metastasized anti-Semitism. That's what we feel right now. It's not even Islamophobia, it's beyond Islamophobia. It's hate of Muslims. And we are deeply concerned. I have yesterday had a council with all Muslim religious leaders from around the country, and everybody is deeply concerned about what's going on around the nation.
There's talk of a deal to build the cultural centre and mosque further away from Ground Zero, a move so far resisted by the developers. However, until the temperature of the rhetoric is lowered, scenes like this are likely to spread here and at other potential new mosque sites across America.
Park 51's mission is to kind of have this space and to provide an environment where people are able to come and get an understanding of what Islam is and who we are. And it's one thing to hear it from mainstream media, but it's another thing to hear it from Muslims ourselves. You know, being in New York City, we are in this close proximity to the memorial, people have this understanding of who we are. So we are here to provide that. My name is Hanadi Dola, and I am the program coordinator at Park 51 Community Center in New York City. This is the actual mosque. You're coming from the outside in if you want to take a look. Now what it is, it's the actual whole Ground Zero mosque scheme, but what people don't understand, it actually is two different organizations. There is the masjid and there is the community center, and they're separate organizations, but they're sisters, so they work together and they do everything together. If you'd like to come with me, we'll just take a walkthrough of the actual masjid and the community center so you can get a better understanding of, what the community center and the masjid is. My name is Hanadi Dola. I'm the current program coordinator at Park 51. I'm originally Palestinian, but born and bred in Brooklyn, New York. The mosque, as you may or may not know, opened a few years ago. I believe we are on our third year. The masjid opened prior to the community center. The community center itself opened its doors in September of 2011. So the community center is fairly new, but the idea has always been around. When people think Park 51, they automatically, assume the mosque, but the mosque and the community center are two separate entities. Matter of fact, the masjid is called prayer space, and the community center, as you know, is called Park 51. The masjid itself is functional 5 days a week, sometimes 6, hosts all 5 prayers, Salat al-Fajr, it opens, and they are normally open if there are enough people in the area for Salat al-Isha. The thing is about this area, we are in the financial area. It's like a financial district, so there are not as many people after work hours. Let's say after 5 or 6 o'clock, there aren't that many people around here. So it's a little harder to keep it open, but if there are the right amount of people there, of course the masjid will be open to provide those services. As we walk in, you will be greeted by a fire guard who is licensed to stand in front of here for every certain amount of people that we have. We have to have a certain guard because of the type of place that we are under. It's considered a TPA, which means it's a temporary place of assembly, and here's the guard that I was talking about. He's actually out. He's here to make sure that everything is on standards and we're following the law, just because the building is still under construction. So we could take a walk through, and this is the actual community center part. As you can see, it's fairly plain right now just because it's still under construction and there's still a lot of things that are going on. Previously, we had an exhibit here by a Danny Goldfield, who is a photographer who took pictures of children from, I believe, 162 countries that all resided in New York City. Their pictures were all around. If you'd like, we take a walk through around, and you can kind of imagine what it looked like with the pictures up. Now they're done because the exhibit is over. This is sort of the room that is where the exhibit was. We now host classes here, and we host events such as, the Haitian Creole Workshop. We had a class called Genealogy of Muslims in America, which basically encompasses the origins of Muslims in America. A lot of people don't understand this, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. Our classes have a variety of people, Muslims and non-Muslims. I believe we also have Arabic, we have capoeira, which is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and at one point we were actually teaching karate here. So this is one side of the space, and then we can walk through this side. It's a fairly big room, and when the exhibit was here, the one I mentioned about Danny Goldfield, the pictures were all around. So again, he kind of had a story after 9/11. The reason he actually started the exhibit, let me just backtrack, is just because after 9/11, a Sikh family was attacked. And one brother was killed because these ignorant people thought that he was Muslim, and I believe this is somewhere in the Midwest. And so Danny Goldfield was inspired by this story. And he took pictures of children from all around the world, from all different nationalities. And when they had the actual exhibit here, the brother of the deceased Sikh came and actually cut the ribbon. So it was a very, very emotional time. It was so beautiful, just because it showed who, one, as Muslims, we are here, an organization that's catering to knowledge and understanding of what's going on around the world. On a weekly basis, from my understanding, it's between 700 to 800 people. On Fridays alone, we have 400 to 600 people that come just to pray, that are here during that 1 hour for Salah, that all work in the area. Now, it's people that, again, that work in the area, it's tourists, it's people that come for tours, but majority of the congregants are for people from the area. So again, on a weekly basis, it could be between 700 to 800 people. For the masjid, obviously, because it's a place of prayer, we have to take our shoes off, and which we can leave right here, and we'll take a walk through the masjid. The point is to be able to have a masjid here in this area. Like I mentioned earlier, that there was another masjid in the area that wasn't able to provide its services for a certain amount of time. So I believe after 9/11, there was, just because of the whole controversy that was going on in New York City, I believe there was about 2,000 to 3,000 Muslims that were displaced, and they had no place to pray. So a few congregants came together of that old masjid, and they sought this piece of real estate, and they, opened the masjid so it can provide a space for Muslims in the area to pray. We'll have to keep our voices down because people are praying in the masjid. So we can do a silent walkthrough, and then I can explain what we've seen when we come back in here. turning some lights on so we can see. This is the actual masjid. This is prayer space. Now, like I mentioned earlier outside, it's two separate organizations. So this kind of is the mosque. If you want to take a walk through, you can. When opening the actual masjid 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, there was a big controversy just because of after 9/11, there was people such as Pam Geller and Gingrich, these extremely right-wing people who labeled this as the whole Ground Zero Mosque. And if you remember back then, I remember when I heard about it, I heard that it was the masjid built in Ground Zero, not even anywhere near it. We are actually 3 to 4 blocks away, and anybody in New York City will tell you that one block is a completely different world, let alone 3 or 4 blocks away. So people have this really big misconception. So during the time that the mosque was being open, I personally wasn't here. So from my understanding of the people that were here before me and other coworkers, I was told that it was really hectic. It was a really scary situation in terms of there was vandalism going on outside. There was protests. There were massive protests with and against. I believe that there was a lot of controversy, like I said, because of this, especially because of Pam Geller. Now she has these new ads up, and the war between civilized and uncivilized, choose a civilized person and go against a savage. And she was actually a really hateful individual. So, but to each his own. So she, just whatever, anyways. Like I said, so the masjid is open, and alhamdulillah, it's been a great experience for myself this past year to see where the masjid has been and to come. Like, alhamdulillah, it's not the greatest or the prettiest of masajid, but what stands behind it, like what it stands for, is completely amazing. Just to show that we as Muslims can unite and to set such a project and to go forward. If you want, we can go downstairs and you can see the next floor, which is kind of the same. We have a brochure that goes out, and it's circulated around when we travel, when our masjid actually travels every week. And there's a bunch that are here, and inside of it there's an actual quote, a testimonial from President Barack Obama, and it goes, "As a citizen and a president, I believe that Muslims have the same right to practice their religion as everyone else in this country, and that includes the right to build a place of worship and a community center on private property in Lower Manhattan, in accordance with local laws and ordinances. This is America, and our commitment to religious freedom must be unshakable. The principle that people of all faiths are welcome is essential to who we are. The writ of the founders must endure." That's by President Barack Obama. So just in response to your question, do we feel that, the sensitivities of, religious values, is that something that we as Muslims feel in New York City? Yes. Just because we are able to practice, we have the support of not just Barack Obama, but the mayor, the community boards, so in the area. So these, having this type of backing is very helpful to us, just because we feel that, just because certain actions of a few, aren't to damage the actual name of the religion itself. If you want, you can actually go around and see the masjid. This is the bottom floor. I believe that we do have governmental support, just as mentioned earlier. We have endorsements from the president, the mayor of New York City, the community boards in New York City that stand with us for building our center. I believe the reason that behind the whole misunderstanding, I want to say, and all the problems that came out is because of one thing. People fear what they don't understand. I believe during the time, America was very, very vulnerable at the time, I believe after 9/11, let alone New York City. It was a very, very emotional place. As a New Yorker, it was very emotional. It was very hard for me as a New Yorker and as a Muslim. It was a time that, again, let's remember that it was during midterm elections. So in order for certain candidates to lobby people to vote for them, they united them under one fear, and that fear at the time was Islam. And people, again, like mentioned before, people fear what they don't understand. So a lot of people didn't really understand what Islam is or was at the time, and they had this type of fear in their hearts. For example, a lot of the people, for when I've seen, or the people I've ever encountered that had an issue with the masjid and the community center, weren't native New Yorkers. New Yorkers at the time, and still now, are our big supporters because they understand that there's a difference between what happened then and who we are. You can't blame, a whole religion for the actions of a few bad seeds. And you'd be so surprised. I believe, all different types of people. I've encountered so many different types of people who have been with and against. And the people that have been with us are non-Muslims, that truly are standing with, this no discrimination policy. And I believe it's so amazing that we have so much support from the surrounding communities, not just in New York City, but also, around the world. And it's amazing. It's so beautiful. Over here is actual downstairs of that white room that we were in. So this is the downstairs part. It's kind of, as you can see, it's still under construction. So inshallah, by the time it's done, we'll have, embarked on our vision by providing this center for Muslims and non-Muslims alike to come. Again, it's still a lot going on. It needs a lot of help. I can turn the light on so you can. The equipment over there is actually for the capoeira with, like I said, it's the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where it's kind of like where they use the drum. Obviously, it's done when there's no salah time. Upstairs in the Park 51 Center, which is the white space, it's a type of martial art dance. It's more of like it's more martial art than it is a dance, but people who actually teach it are so passionate that it almost looks like a dance, and it's very beautiful. If you want, we can actually just walk around. Now we've completely walked around the entire building. We can go up the stairs from here and just continue our talk about Park 51. Just really quickly about myself, before I started as a program coordinator, I kind of started off on a grassroots level because no matter what it took, I wanted to get in on this organization. And just because I believe I believe for what it stands for. So I came in on a grassroots level as to where I was actually out in the streets speaking to people about the project. And I encountered so many different people, and I would target, in terms of speaking to people, I would go for non-Muslims so they can understand about who we are. It's different when, now just the team that I was with was filled with non-Muslims. I'm talking about all races, all walks of nationalities in life, which was beautiful. But I was the only visible Muslim. So to hear the story coming from me was a little different. I was always taught if you wanted to get your point across, you connect emotionally with who you're speaking to. And being able to tell my story as a Muslim, as a New Yorker, living in New York City after what happened, and being able to transcend and take, from the sorrow, and become such a strong individual afterwards. So to be able to bring that across to speak to non-Muslims was so amazing because you had so many people that were in support of us, and it still is. Again, these are two separate buildings together. So they are open to each other. So that's why we've walked through two buildings. And we are now about to re-enter that room that we were in earlier, the big white vanilla box. And we have made a complete circle going around, and this is the exit or second entrance to the same room. This is right here when Park 51 first opened back in September of last year. The photo exhibit. This was, the box was here. This was kind of giving acknowledgement to our sponsors that helped open up the exhibit. So this was like t-shirts that they were selling, the donation boxes and all those type of things. And that's pretty much what was going on during the community center, what was going on before. During our spring semester of 2011, we had a really big spring open house. This room was filled with over 200 people from the neighborhood, which is the best part. Is the point of the community center is to be able to bring these type of people in here and have a type of understanding of what Islam really is. So again, all those classes I had mentioned earlier, Arabic, genealogy of Muslims in America. We had karate performances, which was phenomenal. We had a capoeira performance, and it was an actual sit down with the community to teach them about who we are. And it was so successful. In that whole semester, we had an influx of students in our classes. There was Arabic for adults and for children. It wasn't just one type. It's provided a space for people to congregate. It has provided a space for Muslims and non-Muslims alike. This space is used all the time by non-Muslims. We have, for example, there's the Anne Center, the Anne Frank Center, which is across the street. That's one of our biggest partners. We partner with them all the time on different, events. We collaborate all the time. There's another one that's called, I believe it's Downtown Alliance, I believe, is one of them. There's so many different organizations that are in the neighborhood that we collaborate with, and we're trying to build our name of who we are, just for both Muslims and non-Muslims alike. So I do believe that we have, opened the centers to where people are able to come together. If you remember when we did our walkthrough, the big glass that was outside, now this was a department store before it was a masjid, and we purposely left the windows as large as they are, the way they are, so that way people can watch what's going on inside. Not that we have anything to prove or that we have anything to hide, but just so people can understand what Islam is. They want to see people pray. They've never seen people pray. So to be able to, provide this type of service where people are able to see with their own two eyes and make their own judgments rather than letting others do it for them. There have been plenty of instances, like when Arabic classes were going on, we've had so many I also teach Arabic here, so a lot of my students were non-Muslim and they were non-Arabs as well, and it was beautiful just because, again, they see this space and they heard so much about it, and I believe the controversy, after the whole controversy after 9/11 kind of worked in our favor because it has brought us this type of publicity where people are coming here, where people want to learn about who we are. Let's remember, just take a step back about Park 51 and how we came about. Park 51, when they first came out, I believe 2 years ago, there was this whole big controversy about that it's by Ground Zero. It's considered, the whole Ground Zero mosque thing. But in essence, like I said earlier, it's two separate organizations. What Park 51 really is this community center that it's just like what a YMCA is and what a JCC is. A JCC is a Jewish community center. The YMCA was founded on Christian values. JCC is founded on Muslim values. Jewish values, and the Park 51 is founded on Islamic values. Now, it's supposed to provide for you what the YMCA provides for its communities and what a JCC provides for its communities. All those amenities, but us just a little more to give you an understanding of what Islam really is. I believe that anything that's ever come our way, alhamdulillah, we've been able to tackle it, and we've been able to take it on. The whole negative controversy that kind of came our way, we were able to take it and run with it in terms of making it positive. Again, offering services, offering 5 daily prayers. The masjid itself offers 5 daily prayers, alhamdulillah. And to be able to offer this type of services to the thousands of, if not hundreds, if not thousands of Muslims that work in the area is really great, alhamdulillah. As you can see, people are walking in and out behind me to come pray. The community center, of course, we've been able to use it to our advantage, this type of, whole negative publicity type of thing, and to bringing people in our doors because it has, it piqued so many people's interests in wanting to come and learn, and we use it as a platform to teach people about Islam and give them the right understanding of what Islam is. Inshallah, like only Allah knows, but inshallah it'll, help right the wrong of many individuals that have trying to, condone Islam. Like this center stands, inshallah, it's going to stand as a flagship center and masjid that will provide services for better understanding of Islam. So inshallah, like I pray that, it'll keep going on strong, and being able to provide, like I said, such services, I think is very important. It's the beauty about Islam. There is no set, let's say, nationality or race. Like the beauty of Islam is that we all unite under one thing, and that's La ilaha illallah, Ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah. And it's not something I do just for my job. That's something I live by, and that's something many Muslims live by. So I'm very grateful that I have that opportunity to not only live that way, but also work that way. I'm able to combine my personal life and, my personal beliefs and my job ethic together because they unite under one thing. So alhamdulillah, again, I believe that, it's not just for me, but it's for everyone else that's around here. It's my motivator. So I believe it's also the motivator of other people that are in the neighborhood and in the area that are here to pray, is knowing that there is a place for you to congregate, for you to actually perform your prayers. I think it's phenomenal on its own, stands on its own. I'm only one person. It doesn't need me to do anything. Islam, I once heard and was told that we don't need to protect Islam, we need to represent Islam. And I believe, inshallah, that's what this, center and masjid are going to do, inshallah. Just know that this is not the end for us. And it is up to people such as myself and you and our generations and the generations to come to change that perception and that type of understanding that people have about Islam. It is our job to, one, use this type of technologies that have come around, social media, to voice who we are, and just to remember not to do anything that's going to put us in a negative light. Remember, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has gone through much worse than we have even thought. Even what we are going through is nothing in comparison to what he went through. So he came out, mashallah, the actual epitome of what Islam is. So who are we not to be able to follow in his footsteps? There's a story that I normally come off and tell people when they want to know more about Islam. The best, especially in New York City after 9/11, is to speak to New Yorkers, Muslims that were in New York City after 9/11 and that have always been here. So it's been an experience, not just for Park 51, but for Muslims ourselves, to kind of come down this road and explain the essence of how important it is to have a community center like this for us. A voice that, let's just say, a place where we are able to speak for ourselves and not let others speak for us.